Thank you. So here we are. It is the Senate Reapportionment Committee. It is Wednesday, February 2nd. And committee, I need to confess a big boo-boo to you. And none of you kept me honest. We had decided that the way we would do this is that the first thing we would do is look at the current map. And then the second thing we would do is to look at the majority map. And yesterday we looked at the current map and we started picking away right away without ever looking at the majority map. And they spent a lot of time working on that. And I think that we need to look at it, and it might solve some of our problems. I mean, they did a lot of work on it. And I think, and we didn't look particularly at the majority map because we had decided that we weren't going to tie ourselves into all one-member districts, and that's what that was. But this map is different. And so
I thought it was the majority map, Madam Chair.
The majority map was one-member districts. And we didn't look at the map in particular because we had decided not to tie ourselves into one-member districts. So this is the minority map. It wasn't a great deal of difference between the majority and minority vote. It was 3-4. So, Nick, do you have that map? And I did very belatedly this morning sent Jeannie Albert a note because I know that she had some real specific reasons why she did things in the particular way. And so my apologies, and you guys have to try and keep me honest here because I completely forgot that we were going to do that. So, and then we got so excited about Chris's work that we just jumped
Madam
in.
Chair, I wouldn't take that on. There were 7 of us and not one of us said anything. So I think
that's what I meant. You've got to keep.
I think we all got so excited that
I know
doing it that we failed to remember that. So
yes,
I wouldn't put that.
And that's why I said you have to keep me honest. We have to all try to remember what we're doing and where we're going. So anyway, I did send Jeannie Albert and Tom Little a note this morning, and Tom is doing an Act 250 hearing and he'll join us as soon as he can. And I didn't hear back from Jeannie, but they did get the invites. So I think that what we should do is, excuse me, have Nick walk us through present the minority map to us. Does that make sense?
Majority. Yeah, minority map.
Minority map, which is the one that does 1-member, 2-member, 3-member districts. It doesn't tie it into all 1-member districts.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And we won't have necessarily the explanation, but I think that what we can do is if we have questions about it, about particular things, that we can ask Jeannie to join us again, if that makes sense. And she might even join us this morning.
Great. So we can pull that up on our website, easily accessible. What it doesn't have, of course, is the numbers of people in each town. So so unlike Nick's fabulous map yesterday that had both the districts and the numbers, this just has the gross numbers and the districts. Yes.
And Nick, if you, I think again, can pull it up and share it with us.
Yes, indeed. That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And we should be good. You're gonna have to bear with me a little bit while I make a few display changes to make it a little easier to read, but that will be ongoing, and I'm sure that won't interrupt discussion. By the way, for the record, Nick Atherton, mapping specialist with Office of Legislative Counsel.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you can, as you're doing this, make it a little bit bigger, and then we'll start kind of at the bottom like we did with our yesterday with the map, if that makes sense to everybody.
Yep. Indeed. Let me just remove a few things to make it a little easier to read.
What are all those little numbers there? I can't they're not on
Oh,
yours.
we had a number of data layers displaying a lot of different things,
Oh.
including you're probably seeing census blocks, but this should show you should be seeing a display of municipalities with their names in blue, populations in purple, and then we have little floating labels for the district statistics.
So I'm looking at this. I don't understand where her district lines are.
District lines are in green.
But green,
It's hard to see.
Brattleboro, Guilford, and Vernon are in one district, and that isn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. This may be the house map. Hang on a
I
second.
think, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks,
My
yes,
my
it is the
apologies,
house
folks.
map.
Okay, committee, should we just start working on the house map?
That would make us very popular.
Yeah. And
My apologies, folks. Let's see, alternate plans. Oh, no, that was alternate. Okay, there we go, Senate. There we go. Okay. Sorry, someone may guess that I have not finished my coffee this morning.
Neither have we.
Okay, here comes the Senate map.
Yeah, that looks more like it.
A little more familiar.
that,
Somewhat easier to read, I would guess as well.
Oh,
Particularly if it's bigger,
Yeah.
although I'm pulling it up, it's the same as the minority map that we have on our website. So I'm.
yes, it is. Well, I mean, it's the same map. Yes,
It's
there's
the
only
same
one minority map.
Right.
God, no wonder it takes 8 hours of initial training to figure this thing out.
And several weeks of practice to get anywhere
Yeah.
good at it. Okay, so we should be looking at Southern Vermont with floating labels to demonstrate the statistics for the districts, gray lines to separate districts. And I'm going to real fast just change our municipal boundaries to something blue and leave counties in red. And so that should just gel with what we've been working on in the past.
Okay, right. So really, what she did in Wyndham and Bennington is she did exactly the same thing that we did when we were looking at this, except she left Londonderry in Wyndham and left Stratton and Somerset in Bennington.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So are we ready to move up on the map?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So,
I had one question on
yeah,
Wyndham.
yeah.
Is there a difference with Londonderry to the way it exists now? Because I'm looking at the existing map and I'm not sure where Londonderry.
Londonderry
which
right
district?
now is in Windsor. It actually is in Wyndham County, but it moved to Windsor last year because Windsor didn't have enough people.
10 years ago.
Okay.
I mean, 10 years ago.
It's top left. It's the most north west
Yeah.
corner.
Yeah,
I see where it
he
is.
sees where it
That-
is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said you couldn't see where it was.
He just didn't know where it was.
I didn't know what district.
currently.
Looking at the lines, it wasn't clear to me on the existing map if it was in Windsor or Wyndham. So existing, it's in Windsor, but in this
Yes.
map, it's Wyndham.
Yes, she
Okay.
put it back into Wyndham. And it's like a lot of those towns, the south part of Londonderry kind of relates more to Wyndham County, and the northern part of Londonderry relates to Andover and Weston. So it's
It's sort of divided.
the guy from New York with his little ruler did no favors to us when he took his little ruler and made the town lines without paying any attention to geography.
Correct.
Yeah,
It's there, our town lines are just ridiculous, but we can't do anything about that unless we want to start also changing town lines, not districts, but town lines. We probably don't want to go there. Okay,
so Rutland has been
Mhm.
changed.
so what did she do here that she put
Rutland-
Mount Holly back?
Yeah, and that's it.
That's all she
What
did
about-
with Rutland.
What about Killington, Brian?
Killington's in Rutland County and it's in this district.
Okay.
And Killington is very Rutland.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
Yeah.
their pride, it's their mountain.
Yeah,
so Wyndham, I mean, Windsor and Rutland both look really good here, the way she did this.
Yep.
Okay. So is
Well-
Chris with us?
Chris,
Yeah.
are you, Chris maybe
Yeah,
get.
yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. I just wondered. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so Rutland looks good, Windsor looks good.
Well, Windsor, the challenge with Windsor and what she did with Windsor is she took Stratford and Thetford, which are and put them into orange. So, I mean, she did take two big towns.
No, she didn't. They're in, oh,
I mean,
wait,
they're in orange and she put them in Windsor District.
yeah,
So
I see
that is I would put that is a challenge. I mean, I think that's a challenge. So, I mean, that's what she chose to do to.
They're in Orange County currently, correct?
Correct. They are
Correct.
in Orange County. Ben, yes, they are in the district also. Currently.
What is the, does anybody remember the deviation of Orange County right now?
they were above,
Minus 5.21.
Oh, that's the plot. I've got to print out these maps. Maybe I'll come up to the State House just to get maps.
Yeah, it's negative 5.12.
I see, okay.
And here it's positive 7.83.
She must have moved something,
Well, she got orange into Orange County,
yeah.
but
But
the
does Rutland look good?
As far as I'm concerned, it does, yes.
yeah, it's Windsor is a challenge. So
Because of Stratford and Thetford.
yeah, yeah.
Well, Allison also made the point last night, Madam Chair, that Pittsfield arguably would be more comfortable in Windsor because of the relationship it has with
Yeah.
Bethel and Stockbridge.
And
Yeah.
and Rochester. I mean,
And
that's it's a four-town, very much a community there.
So if we move Pittsford back into Windsor and then
Pittsfield. Pittsford is
Pittsfield, yeah, Pittsfield. And then look at Stafford and Stratford and Thetford. But we don't, okay, we need to look at those.
they're just flags, yeah.
Yeah.
And Pittsfield.
Yeah.
And then I would hope, Nick, I would hope you would have a kind of your own special map for the Chittenden because Chittenden is so tiny visually.
Can we move, before we jump to Chittenden, can we just continue looking?
No, I just mean long-term, I would hope we'd have almost like a separate map for the Chittenden County so we could actually see it.
Yeah, I mean, we can, but I don't want us to jump there right now.
No, we're putting markers down. That was a marker. A hope.
Okay.
So now we're looking at Addison and Orange and
Orange.
Washington.
Yeah. So Addison,
We seem to have a labeling issue where some of our labels are being displayed on over in an inappropriate spot. I'm not really sure why that is, but
Oh.
regardless, I would say
Yeah.
ignore this
Yeah.
Chittenden E label
Oh,
for the
no,
time being.
No, I
think
think,
that's kind of
Nick,
interesting.
that we're putting New Haven in Chittenden E.
Hey, well,
The
if we can
only,
move the railroad station, maybe we can move all sorts of things.
the only issue I have with her map that I can see is she runs a very low deviation either way until you get to, I guess it's OE that's up to 7, but, and that's over, but, yeah, if you keep running those low deviations, when you get to the top, there isn't gonna be any extra to move around.
Yes, because, well, the thing with, if you have low deviations in one part, then you have the ability to have higher deviations in other places. Because the deviations aren't the same in, does that make any sense? So if you have 4, if our goal is say 12, if you have 4, the deviation of 4 in these areas, then you have the ability to have a deviation of 8 in the other
Well,
areas.
4 in the right direction.
Yeah. But let's,
Well,
Madam
let's,
Chair?
Yeah.
What Senator Starr, I think, is I'm anticipating he's thinking that the Kingdom District, is going to need the most flexibility. It's likely to be, but does that say, so let's just accept that for a second. Let's say we need Orleans, Essex to be at 12% out. I'm just making this up, but am I right that means the other numbers being closer to 0 actually helps because you have to add them together somehow? Can you remind us of that?
yes, that is true. It's the up and down that are added together to give you the deviation. So if everyone else was 0, then the others have the ability to have a higher deviation.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
Kind of. It is confusing. And so
Yeah.
then if others are -6 and we have to have one that goes to -10, the fact that a bunch of them are -6 doesn't really matter, right?
No, because you add the 2 together and the -10 would
You add
be
the two, you add the 2 extremes together?
yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
so which 2 extremes? I guess
The
that's my
up
question.
extreme and the down extreme. Right now, Chittenden, and I don't remember the number, but Chittenden is like is a positive, is
16.
plus 16 or something. And somebody is -10. That makes the deviation 25. You add the 2 together, the positive and the negative, and that's the deviation you're talking about.
Yeah.
So if you had a -10, the -6s don't figure in there because you're adding the extremes. You don't add all of them together. Does that make any sense?
It's the span.
Yes,
It's
it's
the
the
span.
span between the top and the bottom.
So
From
it
0.
doesn't
You're
matter
not really
if they're negative
adding.
or positive.
Yeah,
Well,
it's the span between the highest positive and the lowest negative.
Right.
They're not really adding together. You add a negative, you get more positive. So yeah.
Well, yeah, you
go
don't
to
add them
0
together.
and
Yeah.
Go to the highest positive and go to lowest negative, and the distance between those 2 is the deviation.
That's right. You don't add them together because I forgot about my math. If you add a negative to a positive, you can. Yeah, thank you. It's the span. You're right.
well, maybe I messed up with my thinking then. But I thought we were going to try to keep all the districts either 5 or 6 one way or the other.
No, that wouldn't make any sense to try to keep them all the same. It's
Well,
the
no, but
span that we're
within a-
worried about.
Within a range of,
Well, I think, Senator Starr, we're just sort of trying to understand the way I think of it is, at what point do we say, okay, that's good enough, let's move to the next one? And to me, that's when we've brought it closer to 5 than to 10 at some level.
Yeah.
But then, I would guess, I mean, Madam Chair, when you did this 10 years ago, was it the case that you sort of do your best and then you get to the last one and you go, oh boy, we got to go back and borrow this town, and then that means a ripple down here? I'm
Sure.
assuming kind of that just when you think you're finished, you kind of have to start again almost.
That's why we had 80 maps.
Well, let's shoot for 20.
Yeah, so, I mean, because if we say Wyndham, Bennington, Rutland, Windsor, all look really good, Addison looks really good, but we need to make a couple changes in Windsor and Orange, then that starts affecting,
Everything.
What are we
else.
looking at now?
Sorry, I'm just trying to pull, I'm experiencing some mapping errors here where the plan that I had pulled up was having some kind of file error. So I'm trying to just pull up an alternative version of the file with the same data and get that working for us so that we can move boundaries if that becomes necessary.
Oh, no, I don't want to move boundaries on her map at all.
Got it.
I don't think we should do that. I think that what we should do first is look at her map as
Right.
it is, and then leave a copy of that, just like we did with Chris's, leave a permanent copy of that. And then if we want to use hers as a basis, that make a copy of it and then start moving them. But we can't make any changes to hers as it is, because that's the map that was given to us.
Right. It's a constant we can use for reference.
And Senator White, this is Mike Ferrant. Jean
Yeah.
did email us, and she's going to be joining us around 8:30, so very shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I think that what we really need is to, if we can, to go back to the map, her map that we had before, but without the ability to make any changes. We don't.
I understood. The reason I'm pulling this new file up is because I was worried about the actual data integrity of the other file. This is the same thing. We can view it, and we don't have to make any changes.
But we can't see the towns.
Yeah, I'm working on breaking those up right now. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Folks.
So they're on the webpage intact. I mean, just we don't have the town populations, but we have the Jeannie's map.
If you want to see the town populations, open up another tab of the minority map, because that
Right.
map has almost all the town's population in it.
That
So you could just-
assumes you can have the ability to do that. To open.
You can't have two tabs open at the same
I
time?
can't. I don't know how to do that on my iPad. Anyway, at least
Push the
I'm
little
able.
plus.
You know.
Okay,
This is-
so this is her map now with the towns and the populations, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Same-
great.
Same exact map, just as a different version that had some coloring, color tint to distinguish between the districts.
Got
Same
it.
data, same exact
Okay.
plan.
Okay, that's perfect. Is
Well,
that good, huh?
Yeah, except it's very small,
Yeah,
Well,
could
he
you
can make it bigger.
I
Zoom
sure
in
can.
one more, please.
or 2 or 3. Mm,
There you go, folks. Thanks for bearing with me. Just wanted to make sure we were working with the most accurate data
There,
possible.
perfect size. Okay,
So we have the bottom 4 done, right?
well, we've looked at the bottom 4, yeah. And I've made question marks beside Pittsford,
Pittsfield,
Stratford, and Thetford.
Pittsfield.
Pittsfield,
Madam
sorry.
Chair, before we
Yeah.
scroll up, can you just, the oddities in Wyndham are Londonderry and Wilmington, and my memory is you would have rather switched those two for sort
Right.
of a community integrity. Do I have that right? Or, you know,
Well, I think that it does, but that, I mean, Wilmington would love to be back in Wyndham County. And it is much harder to get from Wilmington to Bennington than from Bennington over here.
Right.
Because there's a huge mountain right here. But
And Londonderry works well in Windsor,
Yeah.
partly because the northern part of Londonderry is so focused, is a Weston Londonderry community there.
yes, but that would screw up Bennington because you can't move Londonderry to Bennington. That doesn't
No,
make
but
any
you
sense.
could move Londonderry back into Windsor district.
Yes, but then that
that's
screws
not
up
the
Bennington.
question. Right.
Oh, sorry.
So my question was, since Londonderry is in which county?
Wyndham.
Wyndham. So, but it is currently in the Windsor district?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, that was my mistake. I thought it was in Bennington.
No,
Because
you
that
couldn't.
that switch you could make if it made sense in the community and probably keep Bennington pretty close. It would only lose a few hundred, but okay,
Yeah.
sorry, moving on.
That's
Let
what
me-
we talked about yesterday.
Let me, I mean, Landgrove and Peru are, maybe you could do that. This part of Londonderry, oh, you can't see my pencil on here anyway, but let's look at that.
So I think we have, because yesterday we looked at Stratton and Somerset, and the towns in play were Wilmington, Stratton, Somerset, Londonderry, Pittsfield, and Braintree. That's what we worked on yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but we're just working through Jeannie's map. So we were
Yes.
up to Washington, Lamoille, and Addison, as I recall, and Orange, Washington, and Addison swath. Is that right?
Yes, Addison and Orange, that's where we were on her map.
Yeah, just to see what she did.
And Mike, will you let us know when she joins us?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So on her map, the thick red line indicates the actual county versus the district that
Yes,
she's proposing. So Charlotte is technically in Chittenden County. And yet here she,
Allison, I find it very difficult that you're bouncing all over in counties. Can we
I'm
sort
sorry.
of systematically
yes,
I'm
stick
sorry.
with a rhythm here? Because it's hard with multiple screens and looking at Nick's, and
Yep.
then you would
Okay.
have us jumping all over.
yes,
Sorry.
we're kind of trying to work in tiers up. So I think that we were looking at Addison and Orange, and
Did we jump over Windsor and Rutland? We're happy there.
go down, please, Nick. I think that we, except for Stratford and Thetford and Pittsfield there.
And Londonderry,
No,
question mark. I mean, I think
No.
those are,
I think, oh, yeah, well, I'm
Those are
gonna
the-
check on Londonderry and Wilmington.
Senator White,
Yeah.
Jeannie Albert just came in.
Okay, great. Thanks. So Jeannie, we're looking, and my huge apologies, because yesterday we went through the current map and then we just got so excited that we just started looking at it and moving it all about. And now we're doing what we should have done yesterday, and we're going through your map. And we've looked at Wyndham and Bennington, and what we're doing is kind of flagging areas where we might have some issues, like could Londonderry and Wilmington just be switched? And I would have to check on that with my people in Londonderry and also in Bennington. And then when we got up to Rutland and Windsor, Pittsfield was a question mark, because that really is part of this Rochester Stockbridge community. And then we had questions about Thetford and Stratford, but so that's where we are.
Yeah, good morning. And yeah, it sounds like you're going through the typical, regular process, just getting acquainted with what you have before you,
Yep.
and what the choices are, plus the other questions about the communities that, make sense to keep together. So that's very helpful as well. And luckily, I think you do have some choices in the areas you've already looked, if you know what I mean, that you can come to some decision that will be useful, not just by the numbers, but what makes the most sense.
Yep.
So yeah, I can answer a question, or if you just want to keep going and look, or whatever works for you.
Well, I think that what we're trying to do, I think, remind me if I'm wrong here, committee, is kind of working in tiers up, starting at the bottom. And we've kind of gotten through Rutland and Windsor with those few questions and are now looking at Addison and Orange.
Mm-hmm.
So where are we, committee, here with Addison and Orange?
Well, I think that it would be tough for Orange to lose Stratford and Thetford I will put that marker down.
Yep, we have a question mark beside those.
Yeah. And the reason I already, Andy, what's your, I don't want to keep talking.
Well, do we have other issues around Addison and Orange? And we don't need to, we've put a question mark beside Stratford, Thetford, and Pittsfield. So we don't need to keep talking about them, I don't think.
Right.
Then on this map that we have in front of us, Charlotte got moved
Right.
south, right?
Yes.
I raised that and got, when I thought we were in this band, and but no one wanted, Chris said he didn't think that was.
Well, no, it's fine. I thought we were still talking about Rutland and Windsor, and so you were yo-yoing my mind around. Yes, Charlotte is a.
Hey, I would love to be able to yo-yo your mind around.
You do it. You do it daily. You do it daily. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So
Charlotte's a significant issue for that community, no question.
It is a big issue.
And there's a lot of people there, so.
What is 19? Is that 30?
It would be helpful if we spoke one at a time and didn't comment all the time. Just Bobby was trying to speak here, so I'm just.
I'll pass to the presenter of the map and let her explain her rationale and move forward.
Would you like me to do that?
Sure.
And I'll quickly go back to Orange just to give you my reasoning. But, there's one of the challenges there, of course, is that, as I think I was mentioning last week, and you may have already been talking about, Orange as a county unit is very much in between sizes. So that is to say, it's not really very close to either a 1 or a 2 member district size. Mm-hmm. So their options are joining it with another, if you didn't want to divide it at all, theoretically, your options could be to join it with another county or part of a county, though I don't think there's anything that you could do so that nothing would get divided. Some other county would have to be divided in that scenario if you wanted to make it part of a 2-member district, say. So the only other choice is, if you're going to make it a 1-member, is something has to be joined, part of it has to be joined with another district. And I chose the towns that I did because historically the northern part of Orange seemed to be the one that was removed, and including the town of Orange itself, but had been joined with another district. So I thought, maybe I'll look to the southern part of the county to give the northern part a little bit of a change or break. And I have lived in the area. I don't want to pretend to know it any better than anyone else, but I've lived in Thetford for many years, and was aware that those 4 towns, Sharon, Norwich, Thetford, and Stratford, are part of a longstanding House district. So I chose those primarily because of their affinity to the neighboring towns in Windsor. But beyond that, that doesn't mean it's the best choice. So that was the reasoning that I used. So
You could also move, and I hate to say this, but you could also move Royalton, Sharon, Norwich up into Orange County and make Windsor a 2-member district and Orange a 2-member district.
that's true. I didn't actually do that, try that. And so that's clearly that may be in the end a great solution to balance that area. So then the Addison side was in some ways had some similar features because the issue there is that they are just a few thousand people below the ideal size for a 2-member district. That is Addison County.
Mike, Nick, can you move the map over so we can see Addison? Thank you.
And the current deviation, I believe, is just under, it's negative 12.8%. What I have as a county for a 2-member district, which amounts to just about 5,500 people. Now,
So I'm just going to ask Nick if you can move out a little bit farther so that so that we can see
perfect.
the
Yeah.
upper part of here, Charlotte, where that got. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So as I said, the deviation there, if it were a perfectly sized 2-member district, it would need just over 5,500 more people. Now, doesn't have to be perfectly sized. And that's why just the addition of any of the 3, of Charlotte, for example, which is under that, gets you, pretty close to being a perfect size, but not exactly. But there are not a lot of choices.
So that
Bobby?
minus 3.73 is that accurate or not accurate?
Yeah, that looks accurate to me. That's what you get. Just taking all of Addison County and adding the town of Charlotte, you're still a little bit below perfect, but you're pretty close to perfect for a 2-member district.
Well, that's close enough.
So it's a viable site. It's viable as it is with Charlotte. There's no question that Charlotte doesn't really like this, or I shouldn't say it that way. There are folks in Charlotte who don't like it. I heard committee members mention last week that there are some who probably do like it. It's hard to say, but often the towns don't want to be part of another county. I mean, that's just, it's always a challenge. Heinsberg would also work by the numbers, but again, maybe not for other reasons. Just that's a challenge. But what I was saying is your only other options for how you could include additional population for an Addison 2-member district is from the south, where I think you've already discovered that you don't have a lot of leeway with Rutland because it's already a little bit low. So the choices that you might pick kind of cause problems coming from the south. And then from the east, you have the mountains are in the way, and you have other more geographic questions.
And Madam Chair, if I may, currently, Jeannie, the Huntington Buell score is in Addison District, correct?
They are, and we're somewhat vehemently, opposed to staying there. They
had they only been there for 10 years?
I actually think it's
Yeah.
possible they've been
Yes.
there longer, but
No, 10
no,
years.
just 10? Okay.
Yeah.
And
Well, they requested to be in a district, if possible, that consisted of the other towns that are also in the Mount Mansfield Union High School District or school district, I should say.
Mhm.
And so that was one of the considerations when I was looking at options to in Chittenden as well.
Chris, did you have a question?
yeah, I was going to just point out that in that last decade, they they did form a unified school district in a very somewhat painful way. So they overcame as a community a lot of that. Also, Huntington and Beals Gore are in the Waterbury House District,
Mhm.
so they're in fact sort of doubly whacked
Right.
in terms of being outside of their natural community. The question was 10 years in the aughts. I believe Brandon. Am I right that Brandon was part of Addison?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
So Addison has struggled on this front, and there are, as Jeannie's just described, it doesn't seem like there are great options. So anyway, thank you. I just wanted to jog my memory.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep, that is true.
And Madam Chair, may I ask
Yes.
a history question? On Orange County, how many decades have Orange and Topsom been included in the Caledonia district?
Well, maybe 20.
Yeah, I think for 2 cycles, like 2
Yeah.
census cycles.
Yeah.
So there's now a fairly established, I mean, I think that's another piece I'd add to Jeannie's list of the considerations is consistency of district too, because it's discombobulating to have districts shift around every, so I would add that as a consideration for us as we look at these, at these.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Mm.
yeah. I think I heard Bobby. I heard somebody
Yeah.
say,
Well, they were moved up and Stafford and Thetford were moved back in. I don't see where Thetford has much in common with Norwich, but
Yeah, it would keep Orange County a little bit more contained, even though, I mean, if Orange and Topsom have been part of Caledonia for 20 or 30 years, I'd love to know how long. That would be another overlay. I'd just love to know as we look at this. And has Charlotte ever switched? Or would this-
can we stay in one county for a little while?
Sorry. I'm just thinking of they're combined in my head over in terms of this legacy district issue.
I'm just, so you know, Charlotte has never been in Addison district. It has always been in Chittenden.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And some of the people in Addison, in Charlotte, were very well organized 10 years ago. And we didn't hear from the other people except personally from them, but they were not organized, and they felt that they did not want to take on the Chittenden advocates. So just throwing that out. But
Charlotte is very connected to Chittenden County, though. I mean, there's no question about that.
well, that is what we heard before, that the northern part of Charlotte certainly is, but that there are huge agricultural sections of Charlotte that relate to Addison County more so than to Chittenden County. But we can look at that when
We get there.
Yeah. So I still wonder, and I know that this is probably pretty controversial and would not be well received by most people, but whether Windsor and Orange should be divided differently and each be 2-member districts. But I'm going to put that on my question mark.
I think it's worth looking at.
Well, I think it's certainly worth looking at the issue of 3-member districts as you try to look at areas that have things in common where they don't. Even though the numbers may work, I think it's worth our looking at options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So where are we now? Do we want to go to Washington?
Sure.
Yeah, we better move along. We're running out of time.
I don't even know what time it is.
9 minutes before 9.
Oh, okay. So let's just look at Washington. And then next time at noon on Friday, we'll start looking at the next tier up. Okay.
Well, this is a
Washington.
good one. This is an easy one because there's no change between the current Senate district and this proposed district, and it equals in all of Washington County.
Yeah.
So this was one of the easier ones, assuming you want to keep with a 3-member district.
And we have decided that we're not going to tie ourselves into having 1s or 2s or 3s. So we're going to look at what makes sense. We're not going to go above 3s because we can't statutorily, and we will honor that. But we're not going to look. I mean, this makes perfect sense to me. What do you think, Andy?
Andy,
I mean,
is Cabot a necessity to be in Washington County? It seems like
well,
a lot of their issues are similar to Walden and Peachum and Danville, and but that I don't know if that's the case or not.
it could be. The problem is it would be out of the county, and we're already at a -7. So if you lose a town, then you're going to get a further negative number. It's in a school district a district that now includes, it's a big unified district that includes Marshall, Plainfield, but also Caledonia towns. So I think you're right that you could make an argument to move some towns on the border. I think Roxbury might have more to do, feel more connected to Granville and things like that. And I think it's a high number at -7, but it is just the town. It is the county boundaries, and it's, I think, been that way for quite a long time. None of the towns have switched around.
Well, we best leave it like that. And
Well, I don't know that we have to. I mean, as we're looking at the other counties, and just because it's always been there doesn't mean that it has to stay like that. And it is only at it's a -7, not a -0.7.
yeah,
Okay, got it.
I had a question about that.
Yeah.
Maybe if Nick or somebody like Windsor, I'm looking at the minority map, and they say Windsor has 57,000 people, 57.7, and is a -4. But Washington at 59,000 more people is at a -7. And they're both 3-member districts. So I didn't understand. We have more people that have a larger,
Yeah, that's a
bigger
puzzle.
negative.
That is a puzzlement.
Yeah, we should get an answer to that.
I don't know if either.
Okay.
That's a shocking development. No, it's surprising. I didn't notice that. I will look into what that might mean.
All right. Yeah.
Sorry,
thank you.
Sarah Pertzel, could you repeat that? I just missed your shocking comment.
On the minority map on the county little label, it says it's at a -7%, but it has 59,000.8 population. Windsor has less
That's it.
people, 57.7 thousand, but has a 3 percentage points lower.
Oh, yeah. No, actually, I do know the answer. I apologize. You
Well,
made me worried. That's because Windsor has had, remember those two towns have been added, so I reduced its current population is
Okay,
bigger.
so that
The
number
district
is-
pop- Yeah,
The number there is the county number, not the district number.
right. The final
Okay.
district population for the Windsor district is 61,622.
Oh,
So-
Okay, that makes sense.
okay.
Yeah, that would help.
But good catch, Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is it does explain it, and I guess what we have to remember is that the populations that are on there are the county populations, not the district populations.
Right.
And this is a good time to mention maybe that I just wanted to make sure that you had easy access to the district report that I prepared that is a companion to the map. And I
Yes.
sent a link to Amarin yesterday for that. You may have already had it, but I wasn't sure. And those numbers are in there. So you can always look, that's one place to look. That is the for the proposed Senate districts, the populations and deviations.
Good, thank you. So it looks like it's probably getting close to 9.
Yep.
And most of us have to run off to other places. And it takes us a while to get there. So I'm going to suggest that we start here on Friday and
Okay.
then kind of keep going up, and having made note of the issues that we've raised so far, that we've put flags beside.
Sounds good.
Right. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Madam Chair.